In this video, we're going to start off by reviewing how to find a linear equation. All right, so what we did in class was we first looked at some formulas that you hopefully remember from your time in Algebra 1. We looked at the slope formula, which gives you the change in y over the change in x. And then we're going to be using point slope form, which is y minus y subscript 1 equals m times x minus x subscript 1. All right, there's another one we're going to be using here soon, which is the slope intercept form. I'm going to go ahead and put that on here. And again, my expectation is that you have all of these memorized. So it's y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope. All right, so this right here is the slope. And this right here is the y-intercept. Okay, so let's use that to help us answer these first four examples. All right, so example 1 says, find the slope of a line that passes through the points 2, negative 1, and negative 5, 3. So I'm going to write down the slope formula, which is the change in y, so y subscript 2 minus y subscript 1, over the change in x, or x subscript 2 minus x subscript 1. All right, so it's your choice on how you want to choose it. I always just choose at this second point is where I get my x subscript 1 and x subscript 2 and y subscript 2. And then this first point is where I get my x and y subscript 1. So I'm going to do 3 minus negative 1. Right, that's my change in my y. And negative 5 minus 2 as my change in x. And again, you can do the other way, right? You could have written negative 1 minus 3 over 2 minus negative 5. You get the same thing that I'm going to get. All right, so it does matter the order, but again, you can decide which point is your first and which point is your second. All right, so 3 minus a negative 1 is 4. Negative 5 minus 2 is negative 7, and I'm going to make that look a little nicer by putting the negative out front of the fraction. So my slope is negative 4/7. Okay, so now, as I mentioned before with the slope-intercept form of y equals mx plus b, it wants me to identify the slope, all right, which is going to be my m, and the y-intercept, which is going to be my b. So my slope in this case is going to be negative 3/4. It's whatever is in front of that x. Please do not write the x with it. And the y-intercept is going to be negative 4, but I want to encourage you to write it as an ordered pair, 0, negative 4, because all y-intercepts are on the y-axis, which means their x-coordinate is 0. That's example 2. Let's do example 3. All right, now example 3 says that they want us to write an equation where the slope of this line has negative 3 for the slope, and it goes through the point 4, 8. So if we're given a point and we're given a slope, we're going to be using point slope form, which is y minus y subscript 1 equals m times x minus x subscript 1. And my hope is we'll practice this enough that you'll have it memorized. So what I always tell students is because the generic formula here has subtraction, you need to think opposite, right? This 8 is my y value, so I'm going to put minus 8. My slope, they told us, is negative 3, and x minus the x coordinate of 4. So if those values for my point had been negative, you would see that I would have addition instead of subtraction. All right, so let's distribute. So y minus 8 equals negative 3x plus 12. I want to move the 8 over with addition to get y equals negative 3x plus 20. Okay, now what I find interesting, and maybe you do too, is that if you were to graph, right, in our graphing calculator, this, if you type that and I type this, we would actually get the exact same line. It's just a different form. All right, the last one. The last one is going to be exactly the same work we did in example 3, except that we don't actually know the slope yet. So we need to use the slope formula, right? Our change in y over the change in x first, and then we'll use our point slope form to get our answer in the correct slope intercept form. So I'm going to do negative 3 minus 4 over 0 minus 3. So negative 3 minus 4 is negative 7. Over 0 minus 3, which is negative 3. So a negative divided by a negative becomes a positive 7/3. All right, so now I'm going to use my point slope form. So y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. You have options here, right? We have 2 points, so it's your choice. I'm going to just use 3, 4 since that's what's listed first, but it's up to you. You can use either point. So y minus 4 equals positive 7/3 times x minus that 3. Distribute the 7/3 to get 7/3 x minus, and 7/3 times 3 is actually going to be 7. And to finish this, I move over that minus 4 with addition. So negative 7 plus 4 is going to be negative 3. So that is my solution. All right, now one thing you may have noticed as I was doing this, and if you were shouting at the screen, I apologize, but one thing you might have noticed is that the other point that I did not choose is 0, negative 3. That actually is the y-intercept. So all this work that I did after finding the slope, you didn't actually need to do that, right? We could have gone straight to y equals mx plus b and just plugged in 7/3 for m, and the y-intercept is 0, negative 3. So I just plug in negative 3. You'll see the answer is the same, right? But the work is a lot less. All right, so just one of those things to be aware of, and just be on the lookout if one of your points happens to be the y-intercept. All right, so that's it for part 1.